Hey guys, welcome to the shop. I wanted to do a quick review of this rivet tool I got from Harbor Freight. And for reference, this is Fasten Pad Hand Riveter, sheet metal, leather, plastic. And item 38353, it says on the corner there. As with all my tool reviews, I never had any intention of making a tool review, but then I kind of used the tool and I thought, I should probably talk about this a little bit. So this can do 3/32, 1/8, 5/32, 3/16. Comes with some real junk rivets you probably aren't going to want to use. However, the aluminum assortment rivets that Harbor Freight sells are pretty good. I've really enjoyed these comparatively. I suppose I should show you how the riveting tool actually works. You drill a hole through some sheet metal. Then you can push it through by hand like so, but I found it's actually easier if you load it into the tool, and if you depress it just slightly, it will hold it in, and you can push it through. And then you give it a couple squeezes, and that sound is this bit here snapping off. So it's kind of interesting. It leaves this really annoying nub right here, and it seems to be pretty airtight. Yeah, I just blew on that quite hard, and it is airtight, at least for pretty typical PSIs. So what I don't like about it is, of course, this big clunky thing on the back end of it. However, what's really nice about it is if you have something that's already enclosed, you can still put a rivet into it and hold things together. You don't have to have access to both sides. So, what do I think of the tool? It's cheap. It's like 15 bucks or something. I avoided using a tool like this for, I don't even know, like 10 years. I was like, I don't really need a riveting tool because I can just use self-drilling sheet metal screws. So why would I need a riveting tool? Well, the reason is because it's just way better. It has a better seal. It looks much better. It has a nice flat surface to it. There's not much sticking out right here. So it gives a much more professional result. I have been loving the tool since I started using it. I love what you can accomplish with this tool, but on the flip side, it's kind of a pain in the butt. If you have the wrong head on, the rivet will pull through, and then it's a real pain to get it back out. And I found that out the hard way. I had to kind of disassemble the whole thing and put it back together, which is... It's a great way to figure out how a tool works, but it's not a great way to start using a tool. The thing I dislike the most about this tool is this span. No human is going to have a hand that big. I have huge hands, and I can just barely do this. Yeah, from here to here is about 9 inches for reference. So you can't even physically grab it. What on earth is the point of it being that far apart? So what you end up doing is you want to grab it like right here, and then you don't get the leverage that this would give you. So it's just a bad design. It's a real pain. And then the worst part, this piece right here, I know it's a necessity, but what happens is it tends to kind of, you might be putting a lot of force on it, and then this thing, depending on your angle, might sit like that, and then you might hit that, and then it just gets in the way. And then the worst part is I've gotten probably 3 or so bruise injuries from it pinching my skin. I'll show you how. So I'll be using the tool and not noticing, and then I'll get to that final point where it breaks the rivet off, and especially with this thing, it will hit me like this, or just something like that, and it hits me right in the chest. It's very painful, and it's happened 3 times, and I've only used this for one project. You don't have an intuition about certain tools until after you've used them for a while. Let me, keep my finger out of there, or the way you might hold it, or maybe you get a bit of extra skin from your hand in there or something. I'm not saying any of those things have happened, but My problem has been you're exerting so much force and then it hits you like that, you know, because it can close fully like this. It nails you right in the skin and gives you a bruise. So yeah, it's terrible in terms of the ergonomics. The usability is poor, and it will pinch you, and you know, you'll get a nasty welt from it. So, and I know you could say, well, you're just using the tool wrong. It's not the tool's fault, you know, but as far as usability goes, I shouldn't be able to do those things. It's a poor design. If I can hurt myself with it, like, you know, from this, that's a poor design. If I can't physically grab this, and almost nobody could, it's so ridiculous in span, that's poor design, you know? I shouldn't have to deal with these kinds of problems. And I know it's probably something to do with the mechanics of how the tool works, but that doesn't mean they couldn't have thought of something a little more clever. And again, you know, it's Harbor Freight. You get what you pay for. That said, I highly recommend getting a riveting tool of some kind because the results you can get are so much better. I was actually waiting to install this, but I built this adapter here to go from a 3-inch by 19-inch rectangle to this 10-inch circular pipe. And I've just been really happy with the results. I used some silicone caulk around it. I know some people will say, oh, don't use silicone caulk because the acid, the vinegar in it or something will etch the surface of the sheet metal. It'll be so hard to remove, blah, blah, blah. But I find it to be a very reliable sealant for sheet metal work and that sort of thing. And it's, you know, fairly impervious. You can get the antimicrobial stuff. So I'm a fan of that, regardless of what people say. If you look it up in professional HVAC forums, you'll actually see a pretty mixed bag. There will be kind of half and half. People saying, yeah, go ahead and use it. And people saying, absolutely do not use it. And the main reason they say don't use it is because if you ever have to disassemble this, it's going to be an incredible pain in the butt. However, in my own experience, the only reason I'm going to disassemble ductwork is if I'm replacing ductwork. Usually with something far more efficient. So, you know, oh darn, I have to throw it in the trash, you know. What was I going to do, like reuse the thing that was glued together with silicone? I think it's a little bit silly to worry about that. So this project went really well. Probably put a couple hours into it. You can see here it has a decent look to it. And I just made it with scrap. So if you've been holding back and avoiding getting the riveting tool, you know, I don't really need that tool, blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm never going to need to do enough sheet metal work for justifying that, those sorts of things. You know, once you get one of these, you're just going to find all kinds of uses for it. And the rivets are much more flush than a sheet metal screw. So I've been thoroughly enjoying using it, and I highly recommend it for that purpose. If you can, get a more usable riveting tool. So I hope that you found that helpful. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and check out some of my other videos. Thanks for watching.